Welcome back to the Magic Lighthouse. My name is Violet Combs, aka Miss Queen V, and today I have invited Elle, the astrologer, to join me today for a conversation about the cosmos, what's going on, maybe some tips to ground us and guide us during this time, and whatever else shows up in this conversation. So, Elle, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm really happy to be here.
We're happy to have you here. So, today, before we dive into the deep conversation we're about to have, are you open to doing a little guided or, a little breathing together just to kind of get us all grounded in the same energy?
Absolutely.
Cool. So, wherever you are, whether you're driving, if you're driving, if you can pull over, that'd be great, or just focus on the road and focus on your breathing. If you're laying down, if you're sitting, wherever you are, if you're doing the dishes, just take a few moments here to close your eyes if it's safe. Take a deep breath in, holding it at the top, and let that breath out, washing away any stress or worries that might be weighing on your heart. Take another deep breath in, holding it at the top. And let that breath out. Now think of something you're grateful for. And hold that vision of what brings you so much joy and gratitude to be alive. Take a deep breath in as you visualize that and amplify that love and gratitude. Holding it at the top. Feeling that gratitude and that love just amplifying and growing and expanding. And as you let your breath out, visualize a beam of light coming from your heart, blasting out all over the world and into the cosmos. Take a moment here and just let your body settle into this new space that you've created with us. When you're ready, open your eyes and come back into the space and notice any sensations on your body. Notice how our sounds feel to your ears or sound. Thank you for doing that with me, Elle.
I always get face tingles when I really drop in. Do you get that? I get like nose tingles.
Oh, that's so cool. I don't get nose tingles, but I do get, I do get chills and different sensations. Like right now I got one in my left calf and shin, and then like in my right back hip. So it's interesting, but I love it. Cool. So, Elle, you're an astrologer, and you are the Asteroid Astrologer. The Asteroid. Oh my god, I'm tripping on my words. Okay, the Asteroid Astrologer, which I find very fascinating, and I've actually never even knew that we had asteroids in our birth chart until I stumbled upon your page. So, can you share a little bit about what it is that you do? What are the asteroids? And yeah, just like what are you here for? What do you share with the world as your light?
So that's a really good question. And I love that you didn't know before you found me. I love like helping people discover new things. So the asteroids there's like tens of thousands of asteroids in the sky, and there is a calculator online where you can plug these asteroids into your birth chart and track where they were in the sky at the time of your birth. It functions the same as, tracking where your sun was, where your moon was at the time of birth. And so you can just plug them into your chart and see what's going on. And there's so many different asteroids that you can possibly choose from. There's loads of like gods and goddesses from lots of different cultures and pantheons. And there's also like random asteroids to do with like famous people. Like there's a Freud asteroid for Sigmund Freud. There's a Tolkien one for J.R. Tolkien, the guy who wrote Lord of the Rings. Like there's an asteroid for everything. There's an asteroid for snakes, for spiders. So it's really fun to like plug these into your chart and see, you know, which ones are big in your life. And the magic really starts to begin when you see like, whoa, the things that I'm naturally gravitating towards, the things that I'm naturally interested in, or the job that I do, those asteroids that correspond to those things are going to be big in your chart. And so you can kind of get this story that like this is something that is written into my soul that I was meant to pursue. And the planets do that, like the normal planets do that, of course, but the asteroids add just this extra layer of like depth and specificity, which is what I thrive on. I'm Scorpio moon, so I love anything super deep and probing. So the asteroids are just perfect.
That's awesome. And I didn't know that about you. I'm also a Scorpio moon, which is,
I
you
saw.
know, when I learned that about myself, I was like, oh, it makes so much sense because I'm not your average Virgo. Like, I'm a Virgo sun, but yeah, it's like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Cool. Now I know. And I'm also a very deep person. That's why the podcast. So that's really cool. The way you were explaining the asteroids is kind of like regular astrology, or not regular astrology, but like what people tend to know, the planets and, you know, Virgo constellations. That's like the meat and potatoes of your birth chart, and then the asteroids are kind of like the spices. Like, what's your flavor? What's your spice? What do you bring to the world that's your natural, you know, your little flair? So that's kind of the
Oh my God,
visual
I
I
love
saw.
that analogy. Thank you. Love that.
Yeah, you can use that free of charge.
Yeah, no, it's just so fun. And like I'm an Aquarius sun, so I love anything that's outside of the box. You know, I started off studying traditional astrology, which is just like the traditional planets, and then there's a lot of like form and structure to that kind of astrology, and it did help when I first started learning, but then I very quickly got like bored and I felt confined, and I don't like really existing within structures. Like you probably get that being a reflector as well. Me and Violet are both reflectors for anyone that's listening. So yeah, the asteroids, when I stumbled upon them, I was just like, oh my God, like there's so much here. And it feels like a very intuitive process to me, which I also enjoy. Like when I get a client coming to me for a reading, I'll just sort of, I don't know, I'll like read what they've said to me in the intake form, what they're struggling with, and I'll be like, what asteroids want to come through today? And I'll just plug those in, and then they'll sort of light up the chart in this whole story. And so yeah, it's a very intuitive process, because where there's tens of thousands, you can't have all of them showing at all times, so you have to choose 10. You can only have 10 at a time in a chart. So I like that process of like, what am I feeling into? What random asteroids am I going to plug in? And what story is that going to tell for my client? And it always just like hits so like just so specifically. Like some of the people's reactions when I've told them like, you know, you have this asteroid and it means this, and they're just like, oh my God, I can't believe that's in my chart, because that literally has happened to me and it's a really specific situation, you know. So I love that about them, that they can just go super super specific.
Well, that's really cool. So, what is, if anyone listening here is interested in asteroids and learning about asteroids in their chart, which I'm assuming they are because I totally am, what is a step that they can take at home, like right away, to look into what their asteroids are? And then, if they want to dive deeper, what are the like kind of steps to get deeper? Because you seem to use a lot of your own intuition. You have your skill. You've done tons of research. You know the asteroids to plug in. Like, where do you plug these in? Where can I get a list of the asteroids so I know what to plug in? Like, it's kind of like, you know, I can see the benefit of already working with you. And for people that are just like, I want to just get into this now, what's the top thing that they can do now to find out what their asteroids are and where do you plug them in? You know, like I'm new to this, so let us
No
know.
question. So yeah, the way I recommend people to start off with Asteroid Astrology is to head to astroseek.com. So if you just type into Google astroseek asteroid calculator and go there, and you'll just type in your birth details, and it will pull up a chart. It will pull up your chart with 16 asteroids already inputted in, and you don't have to choose them. And on that website, that's the only asteroids you can view. So like there's the sort of major ones that a lot of people will have heard of. So I really recommend starting there, seeing, what's prominent in your chart. And what that means is, like, if you have an asteroid conjunct, so next to like your sun, your moon, or your rising, or your north or your south node, I'd start there, and then, research the names of those asteroids, the mythology, and then from there, for anyone who's looking to go deeper, what I personally use is a website called astro.com, and they have this thing called an extended chart selection, and this is where the whole list of the asteroids are, and you literally just check like a checkbox. So you can just scroll through this list. It's like alphabet no, can't even say that word, alphabetical. And so you can just, you can scroll through and be like, oh, that looks interesting. I like to just listen to my inner voice, like, oh, that name of that asteroid looks really cool, and I'll click that. And so I recommend going to astro.com's extended chart selection for people who are looking to go deeper.
Easy peasy. Thank you for that. I will put the links in the show notes so you guys can just easily click on those. Cool. Thank you. So yeah, is there anything else about that? Like anything like, okay, once they got the website, they typed in their stuff, they're researching. Now what do they do with this information?
Cool. Okay, love that. Yeah, so I'm a total researcher, so I'll always first off recommend do the research. You will find like some asteroids have no information about them online, and you'll also, there'll be a lot of asteroids on the list that are like the names of astronomers that discovered them and stuff like that. So I kind of ignore them. I'm more interested in mythology, and that kind of thing. So if you do come up against a sort of block where there is nothing, I'd sort of look into associated words with that, symbology with that asteroid. But generally speaking, there is a lot more information out there now. There's a lot of forums online, YouTube videos, books, podcasts. Like, just try all different mediums and you'll get somewhere. And what I personally like to do is, so take the mythology and then kind of reimagine it in modern times, because obviously these myths are like describing events that happened thousands and thousands of years ago, and the kind of culture that the myths existed in don't look the same as the culture we exist in today. So I like to reimagine. I like to kind of meditate with the story and think like, what would this goddess say today? What would she wear today? Who would she be hanging out with? What wisdom would she have to share? What talents would she have? And this kind of thing. So reimagining it in the present is a really good practice. And I love to just meditate with them. Just sit. Once you've done a bunch of research, just sit with it, meditate, get really tapped in to yourself, clear your mind, and see what comes through. And whatever comes through is what you're meant to know about the asteroid. It doesn't always have to be exactly what you've read somewhere online. Like, you can also add your own flavor to this. It's kind of similar to any spiritual practice, you make it your own. And I do see this as a very spiritual practice. It's for healing, so do make sure you're catering it and shifting it towards something that's going to benefit you.
So beautifully said. Thank you. So I want to touch on the reflector topic just really quickly for anybody who is aware of human design. And if you're not, you can look up your human design chart. So it's a whole other world meant for healing and learning about yourself, and it's just this whole thing. It's amazing. But Elle and I are both reflectors, which are 1 to 2% of the world's population, supposedly. But I believe it, and it makes sense that you like the asteroids. And I was drawn to you and the asteroids because, like you said, you get bored easily. Like I get bored easily, and I'm always looking for what's what's the unique thing. What's the thing that most people don't know about? This is kind of like I'm on a journey finding like where I want to live in the wild wild west. It's kind of like the wild wild west of astrology. Like not a lot of people are focusing on asteroids. You kind of have to figure it out on your own, right? It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I really agree with that sentiment. And I wonder if it's because, reflectors have spent so much of their lives feeling kind of alienated, because you are that sort of, that 1%. And so maybe that is why we gravitate towards like the unique things. It feels very Aquarius in its nature of like, I don't want to go mainstream. I want to, explore what no one else is exploring. And I think, just that having that approach to life in general I do feel that is synonymous with being a reflector, because it's kind of like you're always searching for like the kind of the optimum, like knowing that what we exist in right now isn't the best way for things to exist, and reflectors are intuitively tapped into this, like this is what could be, this is the potential. And so I think that's why we're always seeking, not very well researched things or not popular things, because we're looking for that like potential.
Yeah. I completely agree with that, and I also believe it's exciting to me when I find something new as a reflector because as reflectors we can absorb a lot of other people's information and take it on as our own if we're not consciously aware of our boundaries and our energy and whatnot. So it's almost like I don't have like there's a chance for me to start fresh, truly start fresh without all of these pre-imposed thoughts and ideas and opinions and all this research that's already been done and proven like this is it. Like I have a chance to actually create my own opinion about it and actually see it from nothing without having to do the work of like the deconditioning of what people have been telling me I should believe and then like all of that. So it's kind of like the pioneer mindset.
I love that. I've never thought of it that way, of like we like new things because we're not like almost contaminated with everyone's opinions about it, and it's like a clean slate, and it's so much easier for us to tap in to something that hasn't been touched by everyone. Yeah, wow, I love that really resonates.
Yeah, good. I'm glad it resonates. It's fun to, and as a reflector, like we're the wisdom. I keep putting quotes like we're the because it's someone said it. This is a created thing, just like anything is. It's channeled, whatever. But we are the wisdom keepers or the wisdom providers, or we're the voice of the collective. So I love kind of condensing down big topics to just like little bites of this is how life is, and then people resonate or they don't, and that's okay.
Yeah, totally. And when I started, learning about what it is to be a reflector and reading about, how we're described as this, channel for cosmic consciousness. Like, so yeah, you can literally, and obviously I'm an astrologer, and I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. Like I'm literally channeling the planets and the asteroids,
Mm.
and then shooting that energy back out into the collective through my work and the content I create and the wisdom that I share. And it's just so on point with what I was already passionate about doing. So when I found that out, I was like, oh yes, love this.
Oh my gosh, girl, that is so delicious. Like I just felt my whole body just like I as you were saying, like you channel the cosmos and blast it out into the world. Like I felt my body just like fill up with energy and light out, and it's just like, oh my god, that feels so good. Like you need to learn Reiki so you can actually like because you're telling me that you're interested in Reiki and that you do it already. Like everyone's connected to Reiki, and because it's universal life force energy. And I'm just thinking, like, girl, with that, like, because it's energy from the universe, and then you're channeling energy from the planets and communicating with these deities and gods and energies and whatever. Like, dang, dang, you're powerful. You are powerful.
I love that. Yes, thank you. Speaking of Reiki, I looked at your chart, at some Reiki and healing asteroids, and got some interesting stuff. Are you open to hearing?
Oh, please, I'm excited.
Cool. So the first one that popped out was an asteroid called Aura. And I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory. It literally describes the aura that you give off. And so your Aura asteroid is conjunct next to your south node. And so the south node pertains to past lives. And so this kind of is like you give off the aura that you've lived many, many lives before. I don't know if have you ever had like a psychic reading or anything?
Yeah,
Have you been told about your past lives before?
I have.
Yeah. So I feel like, you know, anyone who was to give you a reading, be it a psychic reading or an astrological one, you definitely give off this energy of like you've been here many times. You know, this wisdom. And I think just being spiritually evolved in general, like people who are on a walking a very spiritual path, you can kind of sense from the energy, like, wow, you've done this before, you know, been here before. So then you have an asteroid called Asclepius. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And this is the god of healing and medicine. And this is conjunct your Pluto moon conjunction in Scorpio in your 10th house. So this is huge. Anything conjunct Pluto is like, it's to do with, again, your soul's journey, past lives, reincarnation. And in Scorpio, it's like Scorpio energy to me is, you know, what we were talking about that probing energy. It's that ability to see like into someone's soul. And I really feel like, you know, a Reiki healer needs to be able to do that. You're not just talking to someone, you're going straight into their soul. So that to me was just like, whoa, that was so powerful. And then you have, so I plugged in the asteroid Reiki, and you have this asteroid in the 8th house. So the 8th house is a very psychological house, again, a very like probing energy, and it's square. A square is like a tense aspect. It's square an asteroid called Hygeia, and she's the goddess of wellness, like preventative medicine. And this relationship between your Reiki asteroid and your Hygeia asteroid makes me wonder if there was like, and you don't have to share if you're not open to this, but it makes me wonder if there was an illness in either your childhood or of a child that you knew that kind of changed your life in some way that propelled you towards wanting to be a healer. I'd be just interested in hearing like what got you into Reiki.
Yeah, there is no illness like physical illness, but I did, like as a child, I just always felt like something was off. Like just as a kid in the world and like, you know, just being in a world that just didn't feel good and going through life not really feeling like I fit in anywhere. And like actually I have struggled a lot with mental health. So like depression, suicidal thoughts, like all of that. And then my Reiki journey kind of started when I was at a rave and I like hugged someone and we were both like, you know, enjoying the rave and what you do at raves. And he was like, "Are you a healer?" Because after I gave him a hug, he like, at first he was like really tense and just like he looked kind of anxious and just like overstimulated. And I gave him a hug, and then he was grounded afterwards, and he looked very calm and just like settled. And he's like, "Are you a healer?" I was like, "I guess so. I don't know. Let's sure, why not?" And then that just kind of kept piquing my interest more and more.
Wow, I love that. Really love that. Thank you for sharing. I also feel like you have the propensity to heal people through like more artistic mediums. Um, you do art, right? I saw you just posted a painting to your Instagram
Yeah,
story.
thank you.
What's your relationship
Yeah,
like to art and, you know, creation?
Yeah, I used to do a lot of art as a kid, like painting, writing. I used to love to dance and sing. I mean, I still do love to do all of those. And then I feel like throughout life, I've been like kind of training in each one, but separately. So I went to art school. I got a graphic design bachelor's degree, and then like I went to dance. I learned belly dancing, pole dancing, sensual dancing, Hungarian folk dancing, like my ancestors. And then like now is the year that I'm intending to bring all of those together and like doing my reels with my belly dancing and doing, more art and things like that. So this is all perfect timing. And yes, I just did a cactus painting in my bathroom. So if anyone wants to see it, I'll post a photo on my Instagram at the Magic Lighthouse. You can see it. So I'm like, should I put it on here? I don't know. I'm like, no, you know what? F it. Like you said, the healing can come through the art. And I don't have a defined throat whatsoever in my human design chart. I'm very like, I have other gates, I guess. So maybe yeah, that resonates a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm such a big believer of like, especially for us reflector types, like you're not meant to just do one thing, and your social media or your business page, it doesn't have to be like just one thing. And I've struggled with this myself of like finding, because you're meant to find your niche, um, and that's really hard to do when you have like 10,000 different aspects to your personality, and you've lived, what feels like 100 lifetimes in just this life. It's hard to niche down. So yeah, I'm a big believer in, for us reflectors, it's like whatever's flowing through you, whatever you're interested in, whatever's like sparking your curiosity, that is what the collective is meant to hear. And so sharing that, even if you never share anything to do with that thing again, sharing that is still being of service, because someone will need to hear that, someone will need to see it. So I think it's a really good practice of like trusting yourself, of like, okay, I'm really, veering towards the belly dancing right now, or the like art creative stuff. So that's what my community needs to hear, and I'll share about that.
Yeah, beautifully said. Beautifully said. So what does the collective need to hear right now?
Okay, so immediately I'm brought to think of the nodes. The nodes have just moved into Taurus and Scorpio, and they are going to be in there for the next 18 months. So this is a collective shift, that we've just moved out from. We've just had an 18-month transit in a different pair of signs, and now we're shifting. So everyone is feeling this, and the nodes are huge. So we're leaning towards this sense of like cultivating more of a sense of like comfort and peace and stillness and rest and embodiment, and yeah, literally being in your body, and caring for your body as well, like nutrition, um, the food that you eat, the environment that you're around, things like that. And this is a story that's also going alongside this Scorpio South Node journey of using like the scorpionic tendency to probe and to investigate, but also knowing when enough is enough, and knowing when you're wreaking havoc on your nervous system because you're obsessively trying to figure something out.
Yes, this. Can I just
Yeah, is that resonating?
Sorry, I just like this. This is why I'm so passionate about telling people to rest and take breaks, because I literally, and I've talked about this in other podcasts, I've literally caused myself to have a mental breakdown in 2014 because I was so like, I gotta get more, I need to be spiritual, I want to wake up, And I was also like burning myself out physically, not getting enough sleep, not eating enough, drinking too much coffee, and I literally shot my adrenal system. I couldn't sleep, I had insomnia, I didn't even know who the fuck I was. And like that was like a huge moment for like my spiritual awakening, and like my soul signed up for it, whatnot. And if I can like help people not have to go that route, like that's what I'm here for. So I just wanted to interrupt you just to say, like, highlight that yes, you don't need to keep going. please notice if your body's getting a little anxious, if it's getting a little stressed. Like, take these in bite-sized pieces and just like be in places that you love, do things that you love, because you're getting so much energetically from those things that you don't need to understand conceptually, because your body and your heart and your energy and your soul knows what's going on.
Yes, thank you for sharing that reflection. That's so beautiful, of like you're intaking this information on so many more levels than you can comprehend. Like, we're not, you know, the research that we do, and, you know, existing online and just being bombarded with all this information, even, you know, within the self-help community and the spiritual community, it's like there's a lot of information out there, and it's really important to switch off so that you can, you know, shift on a neurological level, on like a deep non-mental plane. It's so important. And yeah, like you said, being aware of the cues of like, I am overstimulated right now. Like, you know, if you're clenched up, or you can't stop like tapping on something, or you're biting your nails, or you can't sleep, you know, all of these signs, like, I am wired, there's too much going on and I need to take a break. So yeah, this is a big story for the collective, and it makes sense. You know, we've just spent the last 2 years in lockdown on our phones. Like, the only way we could exist is through a screen. So our nervous systems are shot, and yeah, now it's time to slow down, switch off, rest, recuperate. But also, while still going through that process, this scorpionic process of like transmuting that, of what's just happened. And also, I think there's a big piece there about grief. You know, like, the world we knew is gone, it's dead, and we are in a new space now. And that's huge. That's really scary and sad. And especially people who are like energetically sensitive, like I'm sure most people who are listening to this podcast, that's really, like, you feel that, you really feel that again on so many more levels than you can even consciously comprehend. So really important to treat yourself kindly over these next couple years, you know.
Yes, definitely. That is really good advice. Is there anything else that you wanted to share before I interrupted you that wanted to come through?
So I'm also now brought to think of all this retrograde action that we've been having. So since 20th of December 2021, we had Venus going retrograde, and then we had Mercury joining in sort of mid-January, and we've just now come out of that. So Mercury and Venus are huge in our lives. They govern so many different aspects of our life, like our communication, our perception, our intelligence, our relationships. Those are just a few things. So them being retrograde is kind of a collective invitation to go inward. And I think of like the journey to the underworld, or like a lot of symbology was coming through again about Lord of the Rings, me mentioning Lord of the Rings twice in one podcast, of like them, you know, traipsing across mountains and going through caves and coming across like creatures. And this is all very symbolic of like shadow work, and this kind of journey inward, you know, to confront parts of yourselves that have been hidden away, siphoned off because of pain and trauma. So this past month has been really, again, heavy, of like, whoa, we're processing a lot right now. And for those of us that weren't doing that inner work, it would have come out in messy ways. It would have come out externally in kind of chaotic ways. So everyone to some extent has been feeling this. And, you know, we're just coming out of it. And so I want to say, like, look forward to implementing what you've learned over the past sort of month and a half. Look forward to implementing that externally now. There's been a lot of, you know, sitting on things, maybe a bit of rumination, a lot of melancholy, again, a lot of grief. And now we're being supported of like, okay, take that, transmute it, and move forward as a person who has grown exponentially.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Thank you. So, yes, beautiful. I'm just going to let that sink in for a second. So we mentioned earlier that we tend to have like so many different interests, and how do we condense it down, and like I feel like especially more with reflectors, because we're just always tasting and testing different things, different energies, different hobbies, all kinds of things like that. So how do you integrate your hobbies and your talents into what you do? And I'm just going to allude to, like, I love your singing videos on your Instagram where you talk about different things that from your business, like the captions, but then you're singing and you're expressing your sound healing with your voice. How That's one way that I love. And if you want to hear her voice, you got to go to her Instagram, which we'll say it shortly. But yeah, how do you integrate all your hobbies and all of that? Like, how do you keep sharing your magic with the world in all those ways?
Okay, first off, thank you. I get so emotional when people compliment me on my music. It means so much to me. So thank you. So I think going back to what I said earlier about trusting yourself, that whatever's coming through, whatever you're interested in, just putting it out there, it's okay, and it doesn't have to become like a core part of your business, I guess. And I am just a big believer in, like, you know, if I'm going to show up for people as a healer, then I want to embody like authenticity in every way, and that also means like being authentic online, and not like confining myself or hiding parts of myself because it doesn't fit a business strategy. And yeah, I'm just hugely passionate about your business. Your business is you. It's not just this separate entity. It's like it's a very spiritual thing, like this process you go through being a healer, you know, being in this industry. So treating it as like, yeah, an extension of you, and putting as much of you into it as possible, and showing up really authentically and really honestly, and um and not overthinking it too much, I guess. Not strategizing it too much. And maybe that won't work for like every type of person, but for me, that's definitely what works best for me personally. And also I get the best feedback from people when I do that, when I just post whatever I fancy posting, you know, not planning it too much. And then that's when I get people like, oh my God, I love your content. Like, this really resonates. And I'm like, there we go. Like, there's a reason that I felt like posting this today. So yeah, does that answer your question?
It does, it does. And to add to that, what other sprinkles of flavor do you have in your tool belt? Like, you do singing, you play guitar. What else do you do? Just for fun.
So I write as well. I write songs, and I do like just sort of writing in general. Like, one of my ways of journaling is like almost writing. It's almost like writing a self-help article based on the problem that I'm processing, but it's just like for myself. I like approaching it that way. What else do I do? I really love the graphic design side of things. Like, I love making super attractive, beautiful content. I have Mercury conjunct Venus, so it's like my communication style is deeply, deeply intertwined with beauty and aesthetics. I love like showing off my body and being like promoting body positivity. And what else do I love? I feel like, yeah, I mean, my kind of thing is that I intertwine like the heavy research, the cold hard facts with a lot of intuition. Like, I like blending those things.
Yeah, and you do a really good job at it. I love your graphic design skills too, by the way. As a graphic designer, like, you got some really good design eye, so good job.
Okay. Thank you.
So, is there anything else that you feel called to share today?
No, I'm happy with what we've spoken about and the sort of transmissions that have come through. Yeah.
Awesome. Me too. This has been such an enlightening and profound conversation, and I just love that we got to dive deep into so many different areas, and I really think that this is going to make a difference for people. So thank you so much for bringing your wisdom, your research, your magic. Thank you.
Thank you for asking such good questions. I love where it went. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So where can people find you?
So I'm on Instagram at stella.sanctum. I've just started back up my TikTok. Don't know how long that's going to last. That is Stella Sanctum. And my website is stellasanctum.com. So that's where you can find me online.
Cool. So I highly recommend booking a reading with Elle to dive deep in your birth chart. And actually, Elle, you have a special offering coming up specifically around asteroids, right?
Yes, thank you for remembering. I have a new service coming out really soon called Asteroid Quest, and this is literally a deep dive into your chart using the asteroids, and it's all orientated around breaking patterns, unconscious patterns that have followed you through many lifetimes. So you come to me with a cycle that keeps happening to you, and I apply the astrology to it, and I plug in the asteroids, and we look at what mythological figures are like influencing this story of yours, and we think of really tangible, approachable steps to breaking this cycle. So that's coming out really soon.
I'm so excited for that. Yay, that's so cool. And then potentially, I'm just going to say you're going to be with us for the event on February 22nd, 2022. We're thinking we're going to have you on as our astrologer and whatnot. So that's going to be powerful.
Yeah, definitely still up for that.
So I'll have details in that as they develop. So thank you all for listening. Thank you, Elle, for being here with me. This has been such an awesome time. I'm so excited for all of the stuff that we're creating and all the things that you guys are creating that are listening. So awesome.
Thanks, Violet.
Yeah. Have a beautiful day, everyone.
If you enjoyed learning about asteroid astrology and everything else discussed in this episode, I invite you to share it with people you know would love it. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and follow the Magic Lighthouse wherever you listen to podcasts. This is also a reminder that my Reiki Level 1 course is open for registration, and anyone who signs up before Valentine's Day will get a free distance healing session facilitated by me. Go to the link in my show notes to sign up, or you can go to themagiclighthouse.com. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing your magic with me. See you next time.